Kavanaugh. Oh, yeah, sure. No, the book. You know the book. The book means nothing. It's a work of fiction. Already, General Mattis has come out very, very strongly. And I think you know General Mattis. He does what he wants to do. He's a very independent guy. He was insulted by the remarks that were attributed to him. And he came out with a very strong statement. I assume you read it. I hope you read it last night. General John Kelly, the same exact thing. He thought he was insulted by what they said. He's right here. He's insulted by, he couldn't believe what they said. And he put out a very, very strong statement, and many others, and other statements are coming out. The book is a work of fiction. If you look back at Woodward's past, he had the same problem with other presidents. He likes to get publicity, sell some books, but we have done more as an administration than any other administration in already less than 2 years. It's incredible. We will soon be approaching 2 years. But there's no administration generally acknowledges that has done more work. When you look at tax cuts, regulation cuts, Supreme Court justices, the court system generally, and so much more. Even if you look at the healthcare programs that we're passing and all of the things we've done, we're saving Social Security. The Democrats will destroy Social Security. We're saving Medicare. The Democrats want to destroy Medicare. If you look at what they're doing, they're going to destroy Medicare. And we will save it. We will keep it going. We're making it stronger. We're making Social Security stronger. We're making our whole country stronger. So all you have to do is look at the achievements. But I was very honored when, without my even knowing about it, statements were put out by General Kelly, by General Mattis, highly respected people by everybody, including yourselves. And the book is a work of fiction. It really, if you look at it, it was put out to interfere, in my opinion, at this time with the Kavanaugh hearings, which I don't think it's done, because so many people have come out against it. So many people who have been written about said that. I said that. Rudy Giuliani is another one. He's very insulted by the book. He's stated in the book. So we do run a strong White House, there's no question about it, and we are doing things that nobody else has ever been able to do, and our country is stronger now than it's ever been, and in a very short period of time, $700 billion being spent on the military, the next year $716 billion. We will actually be far stronger than we've ever been, and that's what we need it to be. Thank you all very much. Oh, we have a great relationship. First of all, I have a great personal relationship with the Emir. And
so there's President Trump talking about the confirmation hearings for his nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, also taking yet another at the new Bob Woodward book, which has yet to even come out, which is called Fear, and quotes a number of individuals in the Trump administration saying disparaging things about President Trump. Joining us now is CNN senior White House correspondent Jeff Zeleny. And Jeff, this is how President Trump deals with these books that are critical. He tweets about them, he talks about them, he makes them #1 bestsellers while he attacks them.
No question, Jake. And the president there, for the first time, we're hearing a work of fiction and trying to, raise questions about the objectivity of this author. We should point out the same author, Bob Woodward, of course, well known to us in Washington and indeed all over the country and the world. President Trump has praised Bob Woodward on many occasions. Most recently in 2013 when he was writing a book that upset the Obama administration. But the president there going specifically after this, saying it's a work of fiction, but not repeating many of the things he said this morning online when he was talking about libel laws and other things. But Jake, interestingly, I am told behind the scenes here, the president is operating something of his own. He's trying to find out who talked to Woodward, who did not talk to Woodward, and he's paying very careful attention to these denials. We heard him there talking about the very strong denial, he said, from John Kelly. Now, that is something we've seen that the president is fine with. You can blow off some steam as long as you properly and publicly apologize. But I'm told the president is also keeping a close eye on who is not apologizing or who is not issuing a statement of denial on this. So behind the scenes, as the president is doing his business today, a big part of that is, I'm told by one official, quote, he wants to know who talked to Woodward. So despite his rather calm demeanor there, Jake, I'm told behind the scenes, he's anything but that. Jake.
Jeff Zeleny, thank you so much. And John King, there is a way of looking at the denials in which you can see what is actually being denied. One example, for example, John Dowd, the president's former personal attorney, denies that he ever said that President Trump was an effing liar. In the book, it actually says that John Dowd was thinking you're an effing liar. And the same goes with John Kelly. John Kelly, there's a litany of things that John Kelly said. He has denied calling President Trump, I think, an idiot, but has not said anything else about the other things he's accused of saying.
These statements come out denying a specific quote or a specific piece of an anecdote attributed to the book, but you don't have a flat denial that A, that I didn't talk to Woodward, or B, that I've said nothing critical of the president. You don't get that. And if they were so adamant about this, why wouldn't General Kelly give some interviews? Why would he pop into the briefing room that he has before at key moments? You see there, that is just textbook Trump there in his anger. And it's kind of a word salad. He starts a sentence and then he remembers, I didn't mention this person also. Rudy Giuliani's also upset. He goes to that. But to listen to the president there as he goes through this, it's part of the alternative universe sometimes with Donald Trump. We're saving Medicare and Social Security. No, there's a great economy that this president has every right to brag about. His Supreme Court nominee, one confirmed, one up on Capitol Hill right now, that he has every right and every reason to brag about. But he is the Republican president who was the Republican nominee for president who has stymied the Republican Speaker, Paul Ryan's biggest goal in life, to reform the entitlement programs that he believes are busted. When you hear things like that from the president, that's not how this happens. Yeah, and Abby Phillip, one other thing that's interesting with the book is you heard President Trump just say that he thinks the reason that this book is out is to discredit or undermine the Kavanaugh hearings. First of all, the book's not out yet. It's not out until next Tuesday. CNN and the Washington Post and other media organizations got early copies through sleuthing and the like. Second of all, this book has been scheduled to come out long before we even knew Anthony Kennedy was retiring, much less that we knew Brett Kavanaugh hearings were going to be held this week. So, I mean, that's just nonsense.
Right, that makes no sense at all. But it is emblematic of something else, which is that this White House is acting as if they just learned yesterday that this book was coming out. I mean, we all knew that it was happening and that it was going to happen on September, which is a week from yesterday. The White House yesterday waited hours and hours and hours before responding in any way, shape, or form to the allegations in the book. They didn't yesterday even have a copy of the book, and then once they did finally get a handle on the accusations, they put out these blanket statements that read like almost like hostage statements from all of these people who have lengthy anecdotes retold in this book. So they are trying to deal with it the best way they can, but it is very telling that President Trump cannot deal with the underlying issue, which is that there are plenty of people in his White House who are cooperating with these authors, saying negative things about him, but he is not necessarily getting rid of them.
You know, Jeffrey Toobin, you're a legal specialist. In his tweet this morning, the president said what he didn't just say down his Q&A with the reporters in the Oval Office, and I'll read it to you because it involves the issue of libel. Isn't it a shame that someone can write an article or book, totally make up stories and form a picture of a person that is literally the exact opposite of the fact and get away with it without retribution or cost? Don't know why Washington politicians don't change libel laws?
Okay, well, let's have a first-year law class here. Libel is a tort. Libel is state law. There are 50 different libel laws. I mean, they're all very similar in the country, but Congress does not address libel law. That is simply just not, that's not within Congress's power. Now, the Supreme Court establishes a certain baseline about what the First Amendment allows in libel cases, and there are a long series of cases that saying public make it difficult
to say that President Obama was not born in the United States. Would that be libel?
That would be a very interesting question, because libel has to be saying damage to your reputation. Now, there is nothing damaging to your reputation. Lots of people are not born in the United States. So how about
saying that somebody's father was involved in the Kennedy assassination? Would that be libelous?
To the father, absolutely, no question. I mean, that's an easy one.
How about saying somebody was involved in Vince Foster? Would that be?
That would definitely be. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just doing so well in law school because your parents. I was wondering. They're going to be proud of.
No, I mean, just to go back to Will's question, I mean, it's just silliness. I mean, this is not something that Congress deals with at all, and it's just a way of being angry about this book. That's it.
Well, you can also see how Trump is fuming about this because, and we heard it a little bit on the tape conversation with Woodward yesterday, which is where the president said he didn't know about the book. He didn't know Woodward would request an interview, and then Kellyanne Conway made it clear that he did know, and then he said, oh yeah, baby Graham did talk to me about it. And there's a sense in Donald Trump that if he could only have talked to Bob Woodward, that he would have straightened all of this out, just the way he's telling his attorneys, I might add, not to take a turn to that case, but telling his attorneys that I should testify to Bob Mueller because I can also tell him that there was no collusion because I can deal with this. And so his anger is not only at the people who work for him, and there are people whom we have not heard from, for example, former White House Secretary, Staff Secretary Rob Porter. Have not heard from him.
Former Chief of Staff Ryan Skripek, HR Master, former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. To John's point, the 4 people who have issued statements thus far are people who are either part of the present administration and want to stay there. Chief of Staff John Kelly, Defense Secretary James Mattis, or his personal attorney, or his former personal attorney, John Dowd, even though he may not be his attorney,
damn it.
he has that, I would guess, Jeffrey, a lawyer-client confidentiality problem.
He does,
there.
and that's still a small group of lawyers that represent him, and it's not good to be seen as trashing your client. That's not good for business.
Can I just ask one question? Jen Psaki, as somebody who was in the Obama White House when Bob Woodward he wrote 3 books about Obama. Just to let the public into how difficult it is and how annoying it is for a president to deal with one of Woodward's books. What was it like for Obama when some of these books came out and people were saying he's scenes or criticizing the president behind his back? That must be just, I mean, whether or not you have sympathy for President Trump or not, inherently that is frustrating.
It certainly is. And look, every White House battles with the question of what is the book strategy going to be? Are you going to talk or not? Are you going to try to control who talks or not? It's very difficult to control, even in a White House that is not Looney Tunes like this one, but who talks and who doesn't. We have that challenge as well. Now, the last book Woodward wrote, the biggest news story coming out of that was that maybe Obama was more involved in the grand bargain on the budget than had previously been reported, which seems quite quaint at this point in time. And we had blamed the Republicans too much for that. That was the big news item. But what we really figured out through the course of time, and I think White Houses traditionally battle with, is, you have to play if you don't play at all,
come back.
then what you were more surprised. And Woodward actually walked the president through President Obama, and I'm sure probably previous presidents, what the book was going to look like to a degree. You can argue with things, you can litigate things. He's going to do what he's going to do, but at least you know what's coming. They clearly didn't have a strategy here. They're not the first White House, but it's more damaging for them.
I want to play a little bit more sound of, this is the president still in the Oval Office. This is what he said on other issues. Let's do this.
The book is fiction. I heard somewhere where they said the assassination of President Trump by the United States never even discussed.
Shit.
Just like you wrote in the past about other presidents, you look at what he said about President Bush, what he said about President Obama, big scandalous thing. It lasts for about a day. No, that was never even contemplated, nor would it be contemplated, and it should not have been written about in the book. It's just more fiction. The book is total fiction.
I think he was talking about the report in the book that at one point the president was contemplating assassinating Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, and his national security team. That was a bad idea.
It was written up, and it didn't sound like he was contemplating. It sounds like he was expressing frustration. And Mattis, kill the guys, and Mattis kind of put down the phone and said, we're not going to do that.
Let's get the senator into this conversation.
Thank you. I'm glad the president didn't talk to Bob Woodward, and I think if there was a strategy to keep him away from talking to Bob Woodward, then the staff did a very good job in not giving him access, because it would not have been a good thing. Just like it won't be a good thing for him to talk to Bob Woodward. He should not be doing it. And
that's why.
Shit.
Well, because the question is this: if he has nothing to hide, if he's doing everything proper, why not explain that and just?
Because it's not about having done anything wrong and done anything proper. It's about being caught saying one thing and having facts that show that what he said is completely with the facts.
Is it English for that line?
The president has, as you know, a propensity for hyperbole and exaggeration, and not necessarily squaring things with the facts. And if you have someone like that, you shouldn't put them in front of someone who can actually charge you for perjury.
So agree. He's just using different words.
I'm just using different words. I'm doing so.
Words matter. I mean, isn't it worth like pondering that his lawyers, his advisors, all think that the president is such a compulsive liar he can't go out and talk to people?
I think what it shows is that the president has strengths and he has weaknesses. Like every president has strengths and weaknesses. And I understand this is a huge weakness in the eyes of a lot of people, and me included. Having said that, I think everybody in this administration understands the strengths of the president and the weaknesses of the president, and they're doing their best to try to manage that situation. So I don't have a problem with the Woodward work. I think it probably accurately reflects the general tone of what's going on in the White House, but I think it also reflects that the president has around him. You can criticize, you can say deliberately or not, but he does have around him a team of people that is looking out for his interests in the American people.
Yeah, I need one, damn it.
In that case, then you wouldn't have had, by our count, a dozen current and former White House staffers all talking to Bob Woodward, giving their side of the story, defending themselves, but not defending their own boss. I mean, that is the ultimate problem. There were people who were saying the Washington shouldn't talk to Woodward, and they went to.
That is not true. What they're saying is that they think he is a danger to national security. That is the theme throughout the book, and it rises to a very different level. And to Jeffrey's point that words matter, I'd like to read a tweet from Donald Trump from March 1st, 2013. Jen, only the Obama White House can get away with attacking Bob Woodward. Right? He's been very complimentary.
Donald Trump has a solid national security team, someone and who he respects and who he listens to.
But I think that they have to protect the country, and the whole theme here is that
I would argue that was the case in the Obama administration from my perspective.
Well, okay, we can litigate that another time. But the theme here that is ironic is that his staff, his advisors, kept him from talking to Woodward in all likelihood. The theme in the book is that the national security team is keeping big decisions from him, and also not listening to his advice. So this is really the infantilizing of the president, which is consistent with the reporting. Can we finish? Consistent with the reporting by CNN, by the New York Times, by the Wall Street Journal, by the Washington Post from the beginning of the administration about his lack of knowledge about these issues, about his irresponsibility and how he approaches global affairs. That's the problematic piece, not every individual quote.
I think it is perfectly clear that Donald Trump has a huge impact on our national security. What he's done in North Korea, what he's done in the Middle East, you can say that they are managing him and everything. That's true, but he is still the driving force behind it. He is setting a new direction. They are trying to backfill and create buffers, but maybe protect. But I really think that the direction Trump is taking on many of the foreign policy issues is actually.
I just sucks. I gotta a mallet cutter like tiger.
What he is saying and he said this specifically, is that they were doing nothing
what's this all about?
Coup d'etat. And that they were trying to, in their own way, he defends the staff people to a degree, because he is saying, look, they're trying to protect the country from the president himself. Well, but why would it be an exaggeration if they're stealing papers off his desk, or if they're saying, I'm not going to deliver this to the president? I don't want to begin every sentence with, I read the book, and you haven't yet, I would wait until next Tuesday. The theme throughout this book, in great detail, goes into the notion that the president has been leading.
Should have aimed, damn it.
Policy in a
Wow.
safe or
Can't do
positive
that
way.
anymore.
Quite the opposite is true over
Wow.
and over again, and it is not just talking about the beginning of the administration. There is frustration.
Oh, that should be fun.
Until very recently, that they cannot get through to him. There is no learning curve. For example, according to Woodward's reporting about South Korea.
All right, the person who read the book on the panel weighing in. Let's go back to the Senate confirmation hearings and Judiciary Committee of Brett Kavanaugh and listen in to the questions and answers there.
I think about it both from a formal and a functionalist perspective. As a formal matter, the law passed by Congress is the binding law, is the one signed by the president. It's what's gone through the Senate and the House.
Oh, you didn't look at the damn. Oh, why didn't you? Oh, 13%. Ouch, and you didn't look at it.
Process. I know how Congress, the House and the Senate, within the House. There's negotiations late at night over precise words and compromises. Inevitably, legislation is compromised. The Constitution is compromised. Legislation is compromised. And when we depart from the words that are specified in the text of the statute, we're potentially upsetting the compromise that you all carefully negotiated in the legislative.
Bad to worse, kiddies.
You might have had with each other.
Bad to
so
worse.
That's a danger that I try to point out when we're having oral argument in a case or we're deciding cases, that if we deviate from what Congress wrote, we're potentially upsetting this careful compromise, even if we think we would have struck the compromise in different places. Judges, that's not really our role. So I think both as a formal and functional matter, it's important to stick to the text. There are canons of interpretation which occasionally cause you a presumption of mens rea, a presumption against extraterritoriality, that cause you to superimpose a presumption on the text. But otherwise, sticking to what you passed is very important.
And you certainly consider yourself a textualist. If you follow Justice Kagan's statement, we're all textualists now. That's what judging is.
Judging is paying attention to the text, in statutory cases, paying attention to the text of the statute, informed by those canons of construction, such as presumption against extraterritoriality, presumption of mens rea, presumption against implied repeals, things like that are settled. Although some of the canons are not so settled, which is a whole separate half-hour of discussion.
How does textualism relate to or differ from originalism?
So, originalism, as I see it, has, to my mind, means in essence constitutional textualism, meaning the original public meaning of the constitutional text. Now, originalism, it's very careful when we talk about originalism to understand that people are hearing different things sometimes. So, Justice Kagan again at her confirmation hearing said we're all originalists now. By that she meant that the precise text of the Constitution matters, and by that the original public meaning, of course informed by history, tradition, and precedent, those matter as well. There's a different conception that some people used to have of originalism, which was his original intent. In other words, what did some people subjectively intend the text to mean, and that has fallen out of the analysis because, for example, let's just take the 14th Equal Protection Clause. Well, it says right in the text, equal protection. Equal means equal. As the Supreme Court said in Strouder, what is that but the law shall be the same for the black and the white? That's Brown v. Board focuses on the text. But there were some racist members of Congress involved in the red who didn't think it should apply in that way to certain at least aspects of public life. But we don't, if you're paying attention to the text, you don't take account of those subjective intentions, and nor is it proper as a general proposition to take account of the subjective intentions. They can be evidence in certain cases, the First Amendment, for example, of the meaning of the words
of the original public.
They can be of the original public meaning.
Oh, not enough.
But you don't follow the subjective intention. So the original public meaning, originalism, what I refer to as constitutional textualism, what Senator Cruz yesterday, I think, referred to as constitutionalism or constitutionalist. I think those are all referring to the same things, which is the words, the Constitution matter. Of course, as I've said repeatedly, You also look at historical, the history. You look at the tradition. Federalist 37 tells us to look at the liquidation of the meeting by historical practice over time. And then you look at precedent, which is woven into Article 3, as I said, the Federalist 78. But then, you know, start with the words, as Justice Kagan said. We're all originalists now in that respect of paying at least some attention to, or even more than some, paying attention to the words of the Constitution.
So if we stipulate for our purposes today, as we're having this conversation, that originalism refers to basically textualism applied in the constitutional sphere, with an eye toward identifying the original public meaning of the constitutional text at issue. You're an originalist.
And that's correct. And Justice Kagan said, I think that's what she meant. We're all originalists now. And I think she said what she meant when she said that.
But what, by the way, would be the argument against that? To me, that sounds like judging. What would one argue against being that type of judge, against being a textualist originalist?
Well, there are different philosophies of what a judge does, but I think the judges, you know, what the role of a judge is. But I think the law, Article 6 of the Constitution says, this Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land. The word law is very important there. It's not a set of aspirational principles. It's a law that can be applied in court. And what is the law? The law of the words that are ratified by the people, and therefore can be applied in the courts of the United States. And it says the supreme law. What does it mean by that? It means when you pass a statute that is inconsistent with the Constitution, the supreme law controls, the Constitution controls over a contrary statute. And that's, of course, also discussed in Federalist 78 as well. What's the supreme law of the land, and the Constitution is the supreme law. Again, precedent, historical practice subsequent to the passing of the text. We see that, for example, in Establishment Clause cases. The court will often look the text, what's the historical practice and precedent, which I've said is rooted in Article 3. Those things all go into that. But the words, the original public meaning, are an important part of constitutional interpretation. Have been, I think, throughout.
Suppose Congress, in its infinite wisdom, with its approval rating that ranges between 9 and 11%, making us slightly less popular than Raul Castro in America, and slightly more popular in the influenza virus, which is rapidly gaining on us. What if we decided that, you know, we're all busy, there are parades to attend, there are political rallies to organize, that we get busy, drudgerous work of actually making laws. We also don't want to make ourselves accountable for the laws we pass. It's much easier to just pass broader statements. So we say, we hereby pass a law that says we in the United States of America shall have good law, and we hereby delegate to the herewith created United States Commission on the Creation of Good Laws the power to promulgate and interpret and enforce good laws in the United States. What constitutional issues do you see there?
Senator, that Congress is, of course, assigned the legislative power in Article 1 of the Constitution. So if it delegates wholesale constitutional power to another body, then that naturally poses a question of whether the body exercising that power ultimately has improperly exercised the legislative power, and whether that rule or what have you that is enacted by that body is lawful because it was not enacted by Congress. So the framers intended that Congress would enact the laws and that the executive would enforce the laws, and that the judiciary would, of course, resolve cases and controversies arising under them.
And yet, in some respects, it's not that far removed from some of what we do today. We may not pass something as extreme as what I've described in my hypothetical, but in some cases we will essentially say we shall have good law in area X, and we hereby give commission-wide power to make and enforce good laws in that area. So is there some point at which we cross the threshold of
the Supreme Court, as you know, the Senator has a non-delegation principle
And at least under current precedent, it has allowed the delegation, and I don't want to get too specific here, but it has allowed some delegation, and some justices or judges would say actually when the executive enacts rules pursuant to those delegations, that's the exercise of executive power, but I think there's been some pushback on that. And in any event, the Supreme Court has a doctrine on the non-delegation principle, and the line is debated on where that should be drawn. There is precedent that does suggest that at some point Congress can go too far in how much power it delegates to an executive or independent agency.
And when we do that, at some point, we're shirking our own responsibility because we're making lawmakers rather than laws. And we're also consolidating into one body the power to make and enforce laws, which is not only something that can lead to tyranny, it's the very definition of tyranny itself. I want to get to the campaign finance discussion that you were having a few minutes ago with Senator Whitehouse. With regard to Citizens United, didn't the Supreme Court uphold the disclosure requirements at issue in Citizens United?
It did. I believe that was an 8-to-1 margin.
And in fact, you've written on this that there is a distinction for First Amendment purposes or constitutional purposes between laws mandating disclosure and laws banning the doing or the saying of something.
That is what the Supreme Court has said in certain contexts, and that is the law that is set forth by the Supreme Court. Citizens United is a good example of that.
And in a case called Emily's List versus FEC, you wrote that disclosure requirements trigger rights that receive, quote, less First Amendment protection, close quote, than speech prohibitions, other types of speech prohibitions.
And I think that followed from the Supreme Court consistent belief the subsequent Supreme Court law controls.
Do you have a favorite among the Federalist Papers? I'm not asking you to choose here between Eliza.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Yes. So I like a lot of Federalist papers. Federalist 78, of course, the independent judiciary, the role of the judiciary. Federalist 69, which says the presidency is not a monarchy, is very important. And Hamilton explains all the ways in which the presidency is not a monarchy in our constitutional system. I think that's very important. Federalist 10, which talks about factions in America and explains that having the separation of powers in the federalism system, dividing power in so many different ways, would help prevent a faction from gaining control of all the power for the people of the United States. And that makes it frustrating at times because it's hard to pass new legislation, but that division of power helps protect individual liberty. I think that comes a bit from Federalist 10. Federalist 37 and 39 talk about, on the one hand, how we were just talking laws that the Constitution over time can be termed liquidated by historical practice. What does that mean? That means that as the branches fill out the meaning of the Constitution over time and practices, those can be relevant in how the court subsequently interprets.
Don't hurt each other.
We see that Dames and Walters. We talk also about the national and federal government. So the combination in 39, the combination that we have is the deepest race having a national government, plus state governments, and within the national government, the House is proportional representation, the Senate is state representation. That interesting compromise.
Tired, man. Hitting driver 3-wood every hole.
47, Senator Klobuchar mentioned yesterday, the accumulation of all power in one body is the very definition of tyranny. I start my separation class every year with that exact quote that you read yesterday, Senator Klobuchar, because that's very important. 51, and if men were angels, we don't we wouldn't need government. So sorry, I've got like 8 kids.
It's
back off.
Brilliant, and I think that's a great greatest hits list. If these were on Spotify, I'd say we put together a list of those. Let's close in the minute and a half I've got left. I give myself an additional 30 seconds because of the 2 interruptions there. Tell me how you were informed by Federalist 51 and how that relates to your role as a jurist. Your role as a jurist now in the D.C. Circuit, you would play if you were confirmed to the United States Supreme Court. This understanding that government is an exercise in understanding human nature. If we were angels, we wouldn't need government. And if we had access to angels to govern over us, we wouldn't need all these rules, these cumbersome rules that make government so inefficient and so frustrating. Why is that important, and how does that affect you as a judge when trying to interpret the Constitution and trying to interpret acts taken pursuant thereto?
That's an interesting question, Senator. I think we recognize that we're all imperfect. First of all of us as humans are imperfect. That includes judges, and that includes legislators, and that includes all of us are imperfect. And so we recognize that in how we go about setting up our governments. If there were some perfect group of people, we'd put all the power in that one body. But because we're imperfect, putting all the power in that one body would be, as Senator Klobuchar was saying, the definition of tyranny. So I think the way we deal with the imperfection,
that was just beautiful.
Because we're imperfect, is dividing the power, separating the power, and that, again, to my mind, that all reinforces.
Yeah, sure, why not? Roll down there.
The flaws in the Constitution, the more flaws, the genius of separating the legislative, executive, judicial powers, tilted toward liberty in all those respects, and having a federalism system where we still have state governments that can further protect liberty and be laboratories of democracy as well. I think all that is because we're imperfect and because we recognize the imperfections. It's also why we have things like a jury system. And even within the judiciary, we don't trust a judge to do trials on his or her own. And that's the criminal trials. We have or civil trials. We have a jury system to recognize, and we have usually 12, and that is designed to recognize that we're imperfect, and sometimes that's why we have group decision making. That's why we have 35 legislators. That's why we have 9 justices. We don't usually have one person to a jury. So I think that all maybe stems from the same philosophical understanding that we're imperfect beings and that we divide power and that we make sure
every short-sighted bunker on the course
in a jury situation or other situations where liberty can be affected is exercising total control.
Great. Thank you very much, Judge. My time has expired. I am not the chairman of this committee, even though I'm playing on TV. I understand that under the previous order, before he left, we were supposed to take a 10-minute break. We'll stand in recess for 10 minutes.
All right, I'm Wolf Blitzer alongside Jake Tapper. We're live here in Washington. This is CNN special coverage of the confirmation hearing for the U.S. Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
Judge Kavanaugh has been grilled by some senators on issues ranging from abortion rights to gun control to the limits of presidential power. He's been complimented by other senators. Kavanaugh refused to say whether a sitting president can be forced to respond to a subpoena, but he says not even the executive branch of government is exempt from the law. Take a listen.
No one is above the law in our constitutional system. Federalist 69, Hamilton makes clear all the ways that the executive branch as designed by the framers of the Constitution was different from the monarchy. Under our system of government, the executive branch is subject to the law, subject to the court system, and that's an important part of Federalist 69. It's an important
baby.
part of the constitutional structure.
Judge Kavanaugh says the Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion rights for women everything here in the United States is
What are you up to?
to respect.
Just come to tell you we're not going to have SKO salespeople.
Oh yeah.
No November last week, guys.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, because the CEO had a meeting today. People asked him about SKO. He said, "No, we're not going to throw $10 million for a massive meeting." He said, "We will already some sales enablement
It's certainly the most aggressive questioning
down
he's
the
gotten
road."
so far. That's from Senator
So cheap ass British guy.
Yep.
Very cheap
campaign
ass.
contributions.
It's expensive, but yeah.
About how money that was spent.
Well, it's
on behalf
expensive.
of
American
this
company does
confirmation.
that. I mean,
Outside groups put
like
money.
a very normal.
Kavanaugh
Because
said-
No, HT does it, baby. You see a bunch of other companies down there? HT's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see anybody else down there. Oracle does their Oracle world, but you're talking about some of the biggest companies in the world, baby.
Yes, yes.
You know?
They talk of there's also Microsoft does that.
Yeah, also one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yes, dear. We are sold. We work.
You guys are sold.
We're sold. We are married to as
Yeah.
Federalist paper was, which
It's fun. I mean, I've been there twice, so I don't feel nothing.
Senator Lee actually compared choosing among the
Pretty
Federalist
happy.
Papers to
Remember? Oh wow! Remember the first year at the voltage company you joined as my spouse?
Yeah.
That was good too.
He's still staying on message with his talking points, very disciplined. It's starting to get a little rougher with some of the other Democrats on the committee. In addition to Sheldon
No, I
Whitehouse,
want to find them. I want to see if I'm actually getting a bug biter. It's just something else. Because you have it in your head, you know, and then just any little itch or something, you think it's a bug bite. It's not always necessarily a bug bite, unless you see a bug biting you.
was also asked about the role of the Federalist Society in choosing him for this.
Oh, I checked in too late. The aisle seats are taken. The
Yeah.
two seats side by side are taken.
No.
Me and my mom, she needs to sit in front of me.
No, it sounds like something you do on purpose.
No.
Points that Senator Durbin was trying to make on
And then we both in the middle of the sandwich. Miserable. It's okay. I'm
In the
three
middle
and
of the sandwich.
3.5. Oh, look at that. Look at
There
this
were a number of
boy,
judges
girl.
that voted against him. How did you take his
Yeah, only 3.5 hour flat, so it's not a big
Then
deal.
you have to read section 2B,
Hello, kitty.
not just 2A. And if you read that, I am absolutely.
Say, why say hello, kitty? She turned around, look at me.
He's
She
not making
understands
the
the
argument.
language.
I
How about I say wait?
He's saying, I understand the precedent better than the judge. And that's a legitimate, that's a legitimate argument.
And then ultimately, when it gets up,
She don't understand English either.
if it does,
She heard some noise. Turned her head.
one of the things that's true of all these confirmation hearings is that the nominee know a lot more constitutional laws, know a lot more constitutional law, know a lot more about these cases than the senators do. And the senators get about 2 questions in to the details, and the nominee starts talking about the case in a way that the senator obviously doesn't
And the
know.
senator wants to move on and ask another question.
Exactly.
Except in the abortion one, Senator Durbin did say, Jake, to your point, that if you followed that dissent, you'd be adding perhaps another requirement on a woman who's seeking abortion.
Can you get one birdie?
There was a little bit more.
Just one? Can't putt for shit, I don't know.
These cases and when
You don't
it
look
happens in
good.
states, it is putting more requirements on the doctors and making it more difficult. So it isn't an overarching ban, which obviously is what a lot of groups talk about and fear. But the fact that pro-life advocates, including my neighbor here, are not outraged by anything he said tells you everything you need to
Can
know.
I make a point on that? Because I actually was, if I be sitting here listening to Judge Kavanaugh, I was a little concerned about some of the things he said as a pro-life person. And that is, you know, he made an extra effort to talk about how Casey, not only, you know, Casey looked at Roe and reaffirmed Roe and
Supreme Court decision, Planned Parenthood versus Roe.
that Casey looked at this and that's a really big deal. And the fact that he went to an overwhelm now, that may be a very smart strategy on his part to assure Lisa Murkowski and others. There may be a signal that many concerns about Kavanaugh is that he's more like a Roberts who's a chief of weight thing. Rebecca Thomas will go right.
Well, I think
and that we might see that.
And the other thing that interested me, and White House, as you were saying, was really aggressive today, and he wanted a guarantee that he would keep pre-existing conditions in the Affordable Care Act. And we know that there's this controversy with the administration, and that the administration is refusing to defend.
There's also a legal case being
starts today, and in Texas, and pre-existing conditions is clearly one of the things that Democrats are talking about on the campaign trail, because they know what kind of resonance it has. And there was White House saying to a potential Supreme Court nominee, I need a guarantee from you that you're not going to take away pre-existing conditions, which after all is the current law.
But this is also a topic I'm actually surprised and a little disappointed that Democrats have not focused more on health care, because this is a core issue where there are legitimate questions, but also it's a huge political issue. It is the best political issue for Democrats on this trail. The point is, there are legitimate questions in a hearing like this about how we would approach this, but at the same time, for people watching at home, they care deeply about healthcare being taken away. And so I hope that the next Democrats that come up will talk about this quite a bit more.
Well, to elaborate a tiny bit, there is a lawsuit that is being argued today in Texas, where the Trump administration and 20 Republican attorneys general are arguing for a court to take away pre-existing condition protection from everyone.
But that's
a big deal.
Invalidate Obamacare.
Exactly.
It's not just, so you're making it sound like, oh, they're just going after pre-existing conditions. They're going after
also terrible things. They're like, saving your parents' insurance until you're 24 out the door.
They're going after all the legal insurance regulations that make this a disaster that it is.
Exactly.
So yes, they are going after all the
agree.
And as these cases unfold right now, that explains why he's not going to answer these questions. These are hypothetical questions. It may come before the Supreme Court when he's a justice of the Supreme Court, and he's going to say what other Supreme Court justices during their confirmation hearings have said, I can't answer that question right now. So they think the Democrats can press, but he's not going to answer.
That's true, but they want people to say, tune in, this matters.
This is
elections matter. Who we nominate for courts matters. This is the issue that we should be doing.
And it also helps explain, I think, why the president today, suddenly out of nowhere, started raising Social Security and Medicare, saying, we're going to protect your Social Security.
Like a normal dreams of
Everybody
it.
understands who's running for office how important
It went a lot farther if it was normal.
to the American people. And, so Trump started talking about it today because he says, he wants to talk about progressive Democrats.
Just not very good. That's the problem. Too much love.
I just knew exactly what he was doing on this.
He's not going to protect Social Security and Medicare if the budget deficit is $1 trillion a year, which it looks like it's going to be next year, but that's another issue we're not going to get to. I'll get back to the other breaking news we're following today. The president once again weighing in on the explosive new book he called Fiction and tries to hit Woodward's credibility. In more news, he was asked about claims that the White House staff took papers from his desk to, quote, protect the country. Let's listen.
Yeah, I've done worse on shorter courses, so not bad, I guess. Oh, there goes my camera again. Bye-bye.